Okay, what's up?
Ain't shit, chilling. What's up?
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, yeah, I should do
Is
that.
that
Yeah.
obnoxious? But can you hear it though?
Yo, I think we're good.
We're gonna have a Johnny Ari wrestling match. Who's gonna win? Yeah, I think it sounds good. I'm good with that. Yeah. Okay.
Are we good? We good? Yeah? Yo, who's the... Oh, yeah. Okay. I never know with mics. I mean, like, I'm a little loud inherently.
I mean, we can talk about the flyer image if you want first, if that's like a good
Oh, yeah, total. Oh, yeah. So,
icebreaker.
introduction.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wrote notes about that. Did you know what that was?
Did I know what it was? The photo?
Yeah.
The photo that I took.
No, no.
Oh.
Oh, well, we can get into that too. The flyer one.
Oh, the flyer photo. The overall uncensored art fair flyer. Oh, okay. Yeah.
No. That one's good too. The redacted.
Yeah, it's kinda tight.
No, the Radio Bonita, the nuclear test.
Yeah. What was that one?
nuclear
Like,
test.
was it like Hawaii or like Hawaii or like CM?
Yeah. So I was looking at nuke images on Google. That one was
looking at nuke
called.
images.
I searched atomic bomb test, but that one was called Red Wing Seminole. But I was curious what that was. So it was in Hawaii.
Got that right.
And I got it from this article online about atomic cleanup crews that were sent out in the wake of the nuclear testing and basically how it affected
Video game that I like to play called Civilization. And just last night I nuked some Civilization, and I currently have the nuclear cleanup crews working over there. It's kind of sick, I'm on a warpath, commit mass genocide.
Wait, is that some new? What kind of video game is that new?
Civilization 6. It's been around for like 30 years.
Okay, I
pretty-
used to
pretty
fuck
cool.
hard with video games because my dad owns an electronic company, and
Word?
he knew how to build computers. Yeah, so I grew up on like floppy disks. Right, Day of the Tentacle. Do you know? okay.
I grew up with Beavis and Butthead floppy disk. Like you get to spit on people, like walking on the street.
We got Ari here mixing.
Shout out to Ari.
Day of the Tentacle is really fucking good. If anyone's interested in that,
That's a little too niche for me.
it came from this video game called Maniac Mansion from like 1988.
What about the one? What about this? There was also the snowman, the skier. Remember that one? That was on Windows.
That was cool.
You can never pass the snowman because you get eaten by the snowman. You were skiing fast down the slope. I don't know if you guys know
Lemmings?
this. No, it was like on Windows, but it was like a game that came with Windows, and you were a skier, and you went down the slope, and then a snowman came out and ate you, like a scary snowman, and nobody could pass. Oh, I'm out. Nobody could pass the snowman. That's the story. That's the end of the story. It's not that interesting.
I don't know. So I thought that image was really beautiful.
No, it is definitely. And
Yeah.
it's a lot of great photography from all those military tests.
Yeah. Well, I also thought it was just interesting how they would test them out too, to make sure that it would. No, not even
Maximum efficiency.
Not even in like a sarcastic way. I was just like, that's where my head went. Like I was just thinking, like peeling back all the layers of it, and the fact that they were like testing to make sure. I don't know. There's something about it, and like destroying it, but it was so
Yeah.
beautiful.
No, for sure. And I mean, like all those territories, what they call territories, colonial little colonies that we have in the Pacific. There was this one that I remember one time reading about. I think it was Guam. There were all these soldiers in the 70s who like didn't get sent to Vietnam, so they just got sent to Guam for like nuclear tests, just in case they had to drop the big one of Ho Chi Minh, and like basically they did so many tests that it left like this gigantic just hole somewhere in Guam that they just like covered up with a bunch of metal and shit. And like all the guys, there was hundreds of guys who worked on there. They all just retroactively caught cancer and like died and shit.
That's what this article is about. It's I like highlighted something from this. Yeah, so it was from this place called Bikini Atoll.
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, so that was Hawaii. I thought it was Guam. But
And what was the other thing? Yeah, most of our guys are dead because of the cancers and all the ailments that come from the radioactive materials. But it made me think of these John Rathman images. Do you know John Rathman?
I might if I see the I might if I see the pictures.
I think I was telling you a little bit about him last time. I think that's how you.
Oh shit. I feel like this is my Dark Knight audition.
So it's basically these like AI generated images, which I know there's a lot of, but these are my absolute favorite. I don't have them on my phone, but I was reading about them and I copy and pasted this thing that I thought was really interesting.
No, like 8-fingered people and stuff.
You know what? Let me pull it up. Well, actually, I can't really multitask. I'm bad at it. But I thought that this was interesting. I think we were talking about AI and how I was saying that like AI generated images are like a more accurate representation of reality. Were we talking about that than actual photographs?
I think we briefly touched on it. Yeah, I mean, like actual photographs are kind of actual photographs, quote unquote. They're at the behest of the photographer, right?
Or the person in front
or the
of
person
the
in
camera.
front of the camera. So it's completely constructed. I mean, this thinker professor of sorts that I like, her name is Aurelia Azole. She wrote the book, I believe it's called A Political Ontology of Photography.
Okay.
And she goes into like the history of photography, like the Talbot box, like the Daguerreau types and everything. But then she goes into this kind of like long discussion about photography as extraction and how it went from like this anthropological tool to like an oppressive tool. And Alan Sekula.
Impressive tool? What did you say?
Oppressive tool.
Okay.
Excuse me.
What do you mean? Can you
Like connecting with that. There's a essay that escapes me right now. The title escapes me right now by Alan Sekula, where he talks about
your guy.
Yeah, my guy. My guy, no one else's. Where he talks about the mugshot and how the mugshot, and by proxy photography basically created stereotyping, and how with, I'm sorry, Alan Sekula. I have it on my phone. Yeah, I have the essay on my phone, but basically photography. Yeah, the raw materials of photography, of the photograph itself, can be perceived as objective, but the power of the archive is totally within the hands of the photographer or the curator or the institution. I guess this kind of even goes into a little bit of my own introduction, but so hi everyone, my name is Joseph Cochran. Hello everyone that's eating pizza. Yeah. Shout out to Wisconsin. Shout out to Wisconsin for giving us Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, I can't wait. New York Jets Super Bowl, baby. But I'm a photographer, I think, sometimes. Sick, I love that.
Wait, where do you guys study? Is that in New York?
No, it's in Wisconsin.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, okay. Right on. What do you guys study?
Basically just graphic design and communication.
Sick. What do you guys think of a corporate Memphis? I think that's what it's called. I think it's called corporate Memphis. Is that? Yeah.
You showed me it the night after.
Oh, okay. We'll get into that later. what was I gonna say? Yeah, I'm a photographer. You can catch me on PBS and on Bob Ross's Spot. You know, joking. But but we'll get also get. I hope so. But but basically, you know, I've been making work now for about 11 years, and my work focuses on the study of societies, advanced industrial societies at that, and you know, archive manipulation and understanding the power of the archive. So so for me, throughout the time that I've been making work, I've been realizing that there's a language that is created through the photographic archive. You know, a photographer solely may not know their visual language just through making the pictures. There is a sort of how should I say retroactive search that a photographer must have to really unlock their language. You know, there's many examples of this. I mean, Alan Sekula, who I brought up, you know, his whole oeuvre was focused on creating an archive of work that spoke to the burgeoning globalization of the modern world. You have artists like William Eggleston who atomized. It's just like the work is kind of nonsense, but when you put it together, you realize that it is. It is. I mean, I jokingly call it the images of white supremacy, but also it is a snapshot of the South at like during his time. So when I began,
Do you think that was his intention, or it was after the fact when he looked at all those images, then it conceptualizes?
I think it was after the fact.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, like Eggleston, in particular, I mean, he was a kind of a petit bourgeois, like, you know, just art dude who was just kind of hanging out, making this work. But I think when like people started taking him seriously, like John Savotsky at the MoMA, who put on his first show, you know, who put on his first major show at least, I think that was when he realized, like, oh, I have 20 years of work, and this work is malleable. You know, it can be put into so many different contexts. And you know, for me, when I was really beginning to become entrenched in my work, I started to realize that, you know, I could just be out here just like I'm gonna pop up at every one of my people's events and just like photograph shit. It's gonna be real cool, real sexy, whatever. But then I began to realize that no, like even these like mundane images that I've made in New Jersey or in the South, like these are all interesting and they all speak to our contemporary time. So yeah, I've been doing that now for some time, and recently, and this goes to this goes into your fair. Over the last 2 years, myself and my co-director Svenja Wichman, we have been shooting a documentary that is titled "A Reference Is Money Is a Reference." It is a work about basically about money and people's relationship to money through the lens of New York City. And I'll be showing at Uncensored New York's art fair.
4:30 p.m. I think, right?
I hope so. 4:30 p.m. Yes.
Saturday, March 25th.
I mean, if you would like to explain a little bit about it.
Yeah, we Uncensored New York curated this art fair. It's going to be in Bushwick. The location is not disclosed yet, but it's on Bushwick Avenue in a really cool, unconventional space. And it started as a publishing fair, and then I don't know, I just wanted to get all my friends involved in it. So we have a sound installation, a documentary, a video installation by Alliance of Big Tech, which is the Light Phone. If you guys don't know about the Light Phone, definitely look it up. And we have a music video premiere by Johnny, and just a bunch of vendors. Brujas will be there. Amygdala. How do you say it?
Amygdala, right?
Amygdala. Oh, I I don't know. They're gonna stop by tonight. I was actually gonna ask what that was a reference to. But yeah, there's a lot of cool things. A few book releases, a few publishing premieres. Liz Lemire's performing. First New York City performance. Alan Vega's wife is Liz Lemire. And yeah, I think that's.
Word.
You just have to come out and see. Yeah.
Yeah. So for the fair, myself and Svenja will be screening about 20 to 30 minutes of this work, and the documentary itself is currently in post production, but we've made a special cut for the fair that will be it will consist of none of the interviews, none of the meat and potatoes of the documentary, so to say. It will more so exist more as like a visual installation within the within the fair.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about it, though?
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. So 2 years ago now, Svenja, who is an artist from Cologne, from Cologne, Germany, she approached me, about her ideas for a documentary. She said that she loved my photographic work and she wanted me to DP the doc. So we talked back and forth for a few months, and she then asked me if I would co-direct with her. And I said, well, I've never done that before. Cool, let's do it. And at first I was a little reluctant because there are many documentaries about capitalism, but the idea that she presented me, which was, she wanted to understand people's personal relations to money. So in a way, it was an anti-institutional approach, because of course we could have requested interviews with bankers, requested interviews with real estate people, all kinds of folks, but she was more interested in, for example, this fellow named Malcolm who began an organization called Picture the Homeless while living in a homeless shelter, or people like Dr. Erica Hart, who is a sex therapist, I believe, and cancer survivor, things of that nature, and even like Alex Vitale, who is a professor at Brooklyn College, but also wrote The End of Policing and City of Disorder. She was interested in the personal relation that people had to this ephemeral thing called money. And, I countered her with the idea that, we're all kind of just engines for money. Like, we're all just like these batteries for this trust that is completely made up, And so from there, we began to build things out, and we began to trade references back and forth for the visual makeup of it. And I immediately hit her with, hey, Frederick Wiseman is one of my favorite directors, favorite documentarians. If any of you have watched The Wire, it's heavily influenced by Frederick Wiseman work. He's done about 90 documentaries, one of which was even shot in the hospital I was born in. And he has a real
Wait, where's that?
Metropolitan Hospital in East Harlem.
Okay.
Yeah, but which was like a half psych ward, half prenatal hospital back in the day. But Wiseman style, which is half handheld, half static shots, I thought was just, from the moment I saw his work, I was like, this is incredible. And we kind of rabbit holed from there, talking about the Mayles brothers who did Grey Gardens, Salesman, those kind of works that are real meditative, but also exist in this kind of a cinema verite kind of sort of space. And
yeah, you kind of get sucked in to the visuals, and then you read the information.
Exactly. And particularly with this doc, which I don't think will be pictured in this cut that we're showing. Um, you know, we we wanted to visually showcase areas where financial financial transactions were happening, but also also speak and harken to the history of those financial transactions. So of course, we went to places like Seneca. What was Seneca Village? We went to I forget the street over there, but there's a street that was a slave market that you can see Trinity Church from it. It's literally just down the block. You know, yeah, they have fucking tours there. We shot there.
Does that cost money?
Does it cost?
Yeah,
Oh, the
the
tours?
tours.
I don't know. I've never gone on any kind of tour like that. Huh?
It's a famous skate spot, but it's a memorial to the slaves that died or were traded in that area. It's right across from City Hall, right? The black,
Not that one.
black fountain.
No, not that one. It's you know what I'm talking about, Jesse. I think.
No, not Holy Spur either, but I feel you. That is a skate spot. No, that's not called that. Holy Spur is where they did Occupy Wall Street.
Yeah, Foley Square got the weird
What's it called?
fucking abstract sculpture
Oh,
there.
you're right. That's called Holy Spur.
Yeah,
I don't skate.
it's like literally on the street, like here. It's like a little plaque that just says like, oh, this was the site of a slave market. You know, but of course, Zuccotti Park we shot there because of the history there, and a bunch of other places. But one of the things that we realized while we were shooting was, these economic areas, though New York City is dense, though New York is just, there's just people talking, moving around and everything. These places are almost completely silent. Like when you actually like record it, they're quiet places, and that's because at least in my opinion, because transactions are happening, and money unto itself is incredibly distracting, and to juxtapose that, we shot in community areas, like we shot in my old hood of George Washington houses in East Harlem. We shot their first project's anniversary day since the pandemic, and in East New York and a bunch of other areas, and all of those segments are shot in color to illustrate that these places, which are economic wastelands, basically, they actually are full of more life and activity than many of these other spaces. We also shot we got as close as we could to Rikers. Shot Rikers. We shot that barge that me and Jesse talked about a lot, which was like this prison barge that was erected during the pandemic and holds about 800 prisoners. It's like kind of a black site of sorts. We really wanted to give a contemporary outlook on New York City today, but also kind of push forward this idea that beyond institutions, beyond the banking system itself, we all have a somewhat abusive relationship with money. So I hope that's a good kind of description or synopsis.
Sam, can I ask a question? That sounds interesting. So a lot of people who give up on the economy, who just don't
Yeah.
participate anymore,
Yeah.
just what do they call in Marx's lumpen proletariat is a term, kind of like a non-working. I know a lot of these types because of the nature of my social community. Just kind of give up, and in a way, I was sort of influenced by it for a second, just to be like, yo, I'm not contributing GDP because I don't like how GDP, just gross domestic product, any economic activity, all of us just doing any kind of trading or any sort of type of transaction that requires appreciation of any good or any service,
Yeah.
yeah, they don't do the money thing. Yeah, some people just trade. But then, all right, so I try that for a little bit and see how it
Just
goes.
bartering.
No. I mean, just tried just mentally, just being like, I don't fuck with any of this shit. And then I realized oh wait, but if the working class like doesn't demand more wages and like doesn't actually produce like capital within its own context, like the government is going to go produce that economic activity because the entire system is built on the growth model by waging war on fucking other countries. So I'm like, oh shit, one of us is going to have to go to war. It's either going to be us, like the working class, or it's going to be the fucking colonized like third world nation that has to like defend itself from like imperialism. And I'm not saying both aren't possible to happen at the same time, but it kind of just made me think like this whole duck and cover approach from the economy is a little bit, I understand, but it's also like it's a little pussy. Like you kind of have to you kind of it is like, I hate to say it, but you kind of have to go out there and just be like demand what's yours. And if like more corporations were to like go bankrupt, like this whole bankruptcy thing was like a big part of it, because like Biden, like all these companies like went bankrupt essentially, and then Biden's like going to war, and you can see it all. Like it's just like nobody has any money. Like what are we gonna do? Okay, we're gonna bail them out and we're gonna go to war. And it's like, yo, more companies need to go bankrupt under the pressure of their workers' labor demands, you know? And then boom, then the government just needs to fucking bail them out. Fuck it. Like anything could happen is what I'm saying. But it's like for us to just assume this position, at least as skateboarders or whatever, or like people who also just don't want to produce objects or goods anymore because it doesn't really make sense, because we're like in this like excess moment, like, oh, like I don't want to make any. And this is for maybe a question for the archivist or whatever, like, you know, how many more hard drives, like how much more accumulation can we possibly like sustain? But anyway, that's just my question. Like, did you guys think about structurally? She said she was going for a personal approach, but like the personal obviously approach is gonna, at least my statement was questioning how our personal approaches to this have like a structural impact.
Oh, okay.
Like I don't want us to be responsible for like the third world going to be pillaged because we weren't over here demanding wages. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like it's pretty possible for us to like demand wages. Like we just have to, you know? Like we can do it. Like many other generations before us did it. And like you don't really see that language like in the mainstream. We see a lot of other language, but like I don't know.
I think I can like. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just wondering, do you think that's actually going to work? Like, for instance, like if I wanted a raise and I asked for a raise and my boss is like, I'm not going to give you a raise. I'm just going to get someone else from the street to work for, you know what I mean? Like, do you think that's actually, like, I'm just...
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. I don't know.
So...
I get what you're saying.
So, I mean, well, one thought I was thinking about while you were talking about that is, last I looked, corporate debt is about $23 trillion. You know,
Who gave that stat?
yo, it's around, but corporate debt is roughly 23 trillion. According to Frontline, corporate debt's about $23 trillion, and you know, corporations at this point. There's an argument that like probably the majority of corporations just need to die so that the market can actually work and people can, you know, like the whole, like we are on the precipice of an economic crisis that's worse than 2008, and and you know, like,
And I also feel like we're doing more free work
absolutely
than
1000%.
in 2008. Like
1000%.
we're all on the
I mean, like if you actually,
hamster wheel.
if you actually look at like productivity has clearly like increased maybe tenfold in the decade or so since then, but real wages have not, and you know, like, bye guys.
See ya.
Super interesting.
Totally.
YouTube channel.
But
Uncensored New York. It's Radio Bonita and Uncensored New York. Brujas.
Yeah, like Xpizza hosts us, but our actual radio platform is called Radio Bonita.
Oh.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, if you want to re-listen.
Thank you guys. Have a good one.
but that was just one thought.
Oh no, wrap them up.
I don't know if I can like speak to the overall crux of of what you were saying, but I can speak to structure and capital in regards to this documentary. You know, and I really give Svenja credit for this because off rip, she was like, "Listen, like we need to think about alternative forms of release forms. We have to think about alternative ways to have people contribute within the work." And you know, from the jump, we intended for this work to be an evolving archive of images and interviews and you know other things that are in the orbit of the work. And one of the ways that I think we achieved that was through basically entering agreements with our subjects that this work, your segment, you can use it for whatever you need to use it for. You want to make an art installation. You want to make a fucking like, I don't know. You want to sell your portion to ABC. Whatever you want to do, you can use it. You know, like we have our use for it. You share use for this as a contributor. You know, so in many ways, me and Svenja, we were the creative directors of this project that was made by Consortium. And I mean, you know, we have both acknowledged that on the back end. I mean, I don't know who will want to buy this shit, but on the back end, you know, if there was a money sort of like exchange, well, we would owe to the over 15 people we worked with, and equally owe. You know, I really think that the way that we pursued the contracts, the way that we went about like doing our work with people, I mean, like, the arrogance in me would say that it's unprecedented, but
We've been thinking about it. Alex was gonna rewrite the imaging terms for pretty much
sick,
shoots. Yeah.
sick.
Yeah, I also think Web3 is trying to get at this in its own way. You know,
Yeah.
the collective ownership.
I mean,
how
like like the digital real estate and how that is dispersed. You know, trying to like kind of create a digital social contract and things like that.
Do you use photo release forms?
Honestly,
Or like when you do jobs?
I
Mean, not so
when I do
much
jobs,
when you
yes.
photograph people.
When I do jobs, for sure. But in my actual like work, no, I don't. And I mean, like that's something that me and God got to deal with. But you know,
No, I'm with you.
you know, I like personally, I don't feel like I wouldn't make any work if I had to like get releases and stuff. You know, and like also there's a huge case, Philip D. LaCourcia versus I forget his name. I forget this man's name, but he photographed a man on public space, and you know the guy sued him and whatnot, and DeCourcia like won the case, but because like at least in the States, you know, we have the right to photograph whoever we want on public streets, you know, yeah, like.
I think that if they're under 16, there's a little bit of...
You can't really do that, you know.
You can, but you can get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If it's pressed. But,
yeah.
But yeah, like, there have been situations where, you know, there have been people who, like, they've contacted me or they saw the work somewhere and they were like, hey, like, you know, like, so what are the next steps here? And I'll tell them, like, well, you know, we could share ownership of this. If this sells one day, like, I'll just give you 50% of, you know, whatever it is, like, you know, and I do have like contractual language for that for people who do want it, you know.
I was doing this job last month. It was a music video job and portraits for this artist, and a lot more work got tacked onto me than I had agreed to, and it was all like last minute. But I was talking to my friend who does a lot of work for larger like commercial jobs, and she was saying for photography and maybe even for anything it could be applied is like usage fees. So it's not so much about this one-time payment that you get from a magazine to run a photo. It's about
like licensing fees.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Royalties. And so that's kind of how you survive, is basically like every year if they want to keep using an image, or I tried to do it with the music video where I was like, because I was underpaid, like, and it's my own fault. But like every year, if you want to keep using this music video, you have to give me a fee.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
they didn't like that, and it was also it was my fault. Yeah, it was my fault for not giving the contract right away. It was an afterthought because of how much money,
Yeah.
how little money I was getting paid.
Well, I mean, yeah, but this like just as a musician and as an artist and like somebody who knows a lot of musicians and artists like that have been in and out of the industry, it's always been like that. If they tack on, if the artist or the company that the artist is working for tacks on that I want to get X amount of dollars yearly, they immediately move away.
But there's something interesting, like being a photographer working with a musician, the musicians never want to pay any kind of usage fees. And for me, I'm like, well, it's the same thing if I wanted to take a segment of your song. I'm going to take a segment of your song and I'm just going to use it. You know, and they would not like that. Then you would.
And then on top of that, it's like, you know, you have ASCAP with ISRC codes. You know, every song has to be, you know, protected and you know, you have to go through that whole ball game. So like, unless you're on a label and you know, don't know how to do ISRC codes, you're kind of like, you know, just giving your art out for free.
If anyone knows how to do ISRC codes, Johnny is willing to pay.
Yeah, let's get a little bit of skill share going, you know?
Yeah.
But
what about like all of the like people who would rather work without wage like contracts, like who, like, you know what I mean? You know what I'm getting at? Like there's like a whole also dynamic to labor where it's like I don't want to be paid for this. That would be weird, you know? I don't know. Just like I don't like. Okay, like it's kind of like all right, the difference between like the free product that's distributed with like unboxings and influencing, right, versus looting, right? So it's like somehow the free product is gonna like this do not take my idea because I'm unpublished. I'm serious. Like my name. No, it's on podcast. Yeah. But there's like, just like how Mark said, like there's like a constant, like unpaid labor. Like that's the dynamic of the capitalist economy. Like it's the same with products. Like some like shit is gonna have, many products are gonna have to be distributed for free for the economy to work. And like even in Native American communities, they had like ceremonies where like they burned hella fucking commodities, like. Potlatch ceremonies where they just like threw it to the wind, you know, like just it's deeper than just the logic of capital, because if you just take the logic of wages and like this is what I'm trying to get back to, like the concept of, or at least Mr. Cochran's analysis.
I'm a mister now. Here we go.
Is just
actually I identify as no, I'm joking.
Recently I tried to write one out. I was like I Brujas, you know. Like, those are my pronouns. You know, me / Bruja / you, I, we. I don't know. But anyway. But the point just being like, yeah, like there is something like that's fake, that's not real. It's not real. Yeah. And then a lot of people who like recognize that sometimes work outside of those terms. And like that is also spiritually part of what maintains everything, ultimately maintains empire for what it is. And that's the complexity of the entanglement we're in right now, which is there's no escape. But I'm just saying, I just wanted to bring the conversation there to be like, you know, we could just sit here about, oh, I could have been paid more here, I could have been paid less here, and like that's what I was driving the conversation towards anyway, which is just like, yo, we have to be paid more, period. But also like, and this is why I fuck with Sylvia Federici's analysis. It's not only that you would demand the wage to identify the exploitation, but also so that you can refuse the wage. And that's been like just helpful as like the final position to be like, yeah, we want to be paid, but we don't want to do the work, almost, in a way, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, I
wages, it's like the wages for housework movement called for wages against housework, if that makes sense. Like, the refusal is crucial, and I think there is a bit of an energy of refusal in our exchange between, like for example, I don't know, I was triggered 'cause I was like, I did not pay Sam for those fucking Brujas photos. I know, but you know what I mean. Like, come on. Who am I? Who is Brujas? Here, take this.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think me and you was talking about like this idea I had about like post labor, about like labor just ending in like a decade, you know, which I like, you know, I still hold on to that idea that like 75% of like American labor will just not be human labor in like 10 years, you know.
Sadie had, I can't figure out how to pull it up. She sent me this like 10-minute clip about AI. Actually, here, keep talking. I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
try and find it because it's totally relevant. Oh, Sadie's listening
You
right
feel
now.
you feel me? Like
CBS also has like a Black Ops like in the fucking front like
the the
Sadie's
whole
a
shit.
genius.
The,
We love you, Sadie. I think Sadie's
Sadie.
listening. Sadie should call in.
yeah, why don't you call
Yo,
in?
call in.
Call in, my
Wait,
G.
hold on. Let me pull up my. She has this theory about the smartest move career-wise is learning how to build infrastructure.
Damn, I was talking to my friend Marissa. I love you. I was talking to my friend Marissa a couple years ago about this because she was like rabbit holing on these videos. Like she's from Guyana, and she was like rabbit holing on these videos of like people just like building shit, like building wells, building homes and shit in Guyana. And she was like, yeah, you know, I'm just gonna learn how to make my own bricks, learn how to make.
AI can't do construction.
No, at all, at all.
So I think manual labor is
AI will kill the knowledge economy, but like also, but but also AI will, but also AI will I think like when self driving is like perfected, it's just gonna be like all those truck jobs, all those like service economy jobs are out the window. I think, but no, you're good. Put
She said it was okay to.
put her on.
I want to make sure it's the right one. Sorry.
building infrastructure.
No, I mean, you know, I think that, you know, when you look at labor, the workforce is whether it be something like Miso Robotics, who like they are completely replacing like fast food workers, or they will replace fast food workers, which is a significant part of the American economy somehow, you know. Fast food work. I mean, if you look at like the makeup of I mean, if you go to like you go to fucking Texas, like the majority of people who like work, they work along highways and they work in one-stop shops. They work in gas stations. They work in fucking eateries, you know, KFC and shit like that. What happens when there's just a fucking mechanical appendage that can just like take everything that you need, put it together, serve you, you're on your way. All you're gonna need is one human being. But it's not perfected yet, you know.
Did they try that already historically though?
I don't think so. I don't think that's been tried historically.
Like fast food was that.
Yeah, fast food. So like fast food was that where.
In Japan, don't they have like little like
So Miso Robotics is like the Japanese company that's been like creating this, and like you know like, yeah. I mean,
But who's gonna have the children? Is that labor gonna end? What? Okay, we have an opinion in the room. I don't know who they wit, who we bruja / they are, but appears masculine.
What? Oh yeah, oh no, I think that there's gonna be a major population degrowth that like is already occurring in so many different capacities, but you need to replace you just need more consumers at this point.
But you think that like that you're talking about like in vitro and like artificial like human building? Because what I was saying is who's gonna keep having the children? Because like this idea that we're spiraling towards AI is like can be from feminist lens like contested by this idea that it doesn't matter because the labor of women will like be the consistent carry through any economic transition. And that's why, not to plug brujas, but like it's very important to understand that in economic transitions women are going to be in very precarious or disciplined positions, and that's scary, you know. And that's why we need to like uplift and like understand reproductive labor as like a very precarious labor to defend and understand in transitioning economic periods. But some people will find ways around, you know, women to have children, I guess, like test tube babies. I thought that's what you were getting at, but you were getting at depopulation in general. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for clarifying, because I almost got confused. Okay.
Wait, should I put this thing up?
Yes. Absolutely. I mean, like, hey, poor. I mean, poor people have mad kids, but like, you know,
Pandemic wiped out.
Oh yeah, the opioid crisis.
There's many causes of death.
Wait, can somebody help me? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
What is the aux again? It's 2, right?
I forget. It's
thought it was
supposed to be
2.
2, but then it was on 3 the other day.
Oh really?
Try
I like George Carlin. What's the most interesting thing you have to do? End it.
I mean, he was right about that. You know George Carlin's special. We're all gonna.
thousands of times during the. This is a quote, and this is something I was thinking about too. Well, there's a company, and honestly, I'm pretty sure it is secretly one of these like small tech whatever companies, but if you dig deeper, they're actually funded by like Google, so they're just part of the big monopolies, but they just like they start up as like, oh, we're just a small like startup company, blah blah blah. But it's a bunch of scientists that created these small shoebox size satellites that circle around the Earth like really like thousands of times during the day and take 2 pictures per second or something like that. Basically, and in within a day, they are able to take pictures of the whole Earth. Obviously, it's like zoomed out, it's like satellite imagery. And the purpose of their company, they're called Dove, I guess, is to, you know, be able to provide like scientific imaging data to track climate change or natural disasters or weather or shit like that. And so this is kind of like, you know, AI goes hand in hand with our obsession with data and mining data and everything. We think that we're going to also be able to solve all the world's problems through data. Okay, if we just track, you know, all of this information about, you know, this town, and make a smart water system, and it'll all be mapped through the data that we're feeding it, and through AI, it's going to like come up with some solutions or whatever. It's kind of interesting that yeah, so like this like imaging of the Earth, we're getting thousands of images now of the Earth, and they're probably, you know, feeding that into some sort of AI system to see patterns and see what we find and whatever. There's a quote from this one philosopher that I find really interesting. I've probably mentioned you before, and I think that it goes hand in hand with like how I feel about all of this. Is what is it? Okay, it's a super conscious being would not be super wise. It would be paralyzed. And that is so fucking true, because we think with super conscious, right, is like AI. It's like we're able to see everything, right? We have microscopes. We can see all, it's like science, right? We can see zoomed in. We can see zoomed out. We can collect all this data about the world, about ourselves, behavior, this and that, and then we're gonna be able to see patterns, right? And understand how everything connects, and how we can predict the future, right? You know, that's what they say ultimately, is that's the goal, is being able to understand everything so we can predict the future. And I just think it's what's happening is that's not reality. And what's also happened that we've seen even before digital technology and all this stuff through the scientific method is again, I think a lot of philosophy is ingrained in science, and this idea of progress and this idea of being able to conquer being able to conquer everything, being able to understand everything so you can conquer it, so you can predict the future. And it's not based in reality. Because what happens when you zoom out, and okay, so you have like an example. You zoom.
Sadie, we love you. And this makes me think of a conversation I was having with her the other day about like post-humanism and like Methuselah. And I think you know about Methuselah. The Methuselah is a biotech company that is like literally on track to like pretty much like their whole reason for existing is to stimulate what do they call it, age longevity. Peter Thiel is invested into them, like all Sergey Brin, all.
What do you mean, like people who want to live like?
Yeah. Their goal is to like make. It literally says on their website to make 90 the new 50. And it's called Methuselah. I think it's funny.
That's pretty crazy.
It's like Cronenberg.
Yeah, some real Cronenberg body horror shit.
Or actually, it's more like.
I'm gonna step out for a second if you.
No, that's fine. It's more like Jesus Christ. High rise. Why am I blanking on the name? High rise.
High rise.
Electric Sheep. Is it
Sheep.
Philip K. Dick?
Oh yeah. Why do androids dream of electric sheep?
Yeah.
Yeah. The book that inspired Blade Runner. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No. Totally. I mean, like we are in that. Like, I mean, Blade Runner. The first Blade Runner takes place in 2019.
Yeah.
Like we're in that like post-human kind of like age.
And Escape from New York too. Escape from New York takes place in like.
I think it's like now. That, like,
now,
that shit happens.
2000. Like New York is bombed out.
That's a fact.
So,
I mean, but I've thought a lot about like just what like not only AI but like even like the hunt. Hey man, but even like the hunt for like basically immortality is like doing to all of us, which I think is like a big part of like our current neoliberal like pursuits. Like all these people are trying to figure out ways not only to like retain their money, retain their possessions, but also like retain the ultimate thing, which is life. And they want dominion like over not only over their own lives, but like the lives of others. And again, like this goes back to like our whole point about the documentary is that like
on both sides,
there is this like existential battle that I think that like.
And I think now it's worse than it has been ever before.
Absolutely, because we're in like a zombie age of it. We're in like we're in like the throes of like that convergence. Of what like people like Adam Curtis was like pointing out in like his documentaries, where we went through need-based society the first like couple thousand years of humanity. But then we went to a desire-based economy that was still communal, but then we went to an individualistic economy that completely like, and I mean like the Reagan '80s mostly, that like completely like got rid of the social gospel that the FDR like New Deal Democrats believed in, exactly, and completely bottomed out like not only like our economy but our philosophical economy. And then now we're at this point where
like the Tipper Gore era, 80s.
Some Lee Atwater shit.
Well, would you say that this is also all just a reflection of the desire-based economy?
It is.
Like, this is just economic activity around things that, like, people, like, not dumb people, but, like, people's, like, deepest, like, fears, like, gravitate towards.
I mean, we all have desires.
It's not going to be real. Like, no one's going to live forever. And they're not
I don't know about that.
I don't know who would want to.
I don't know.
That sounds terrifying.
I don't know if it's impossible because and this is what I was saying. This is what I was saying. This is what I was saying to Sadie. Like I think that if you can like solve inflammation, like if you could solve inflammation in pill form, and solve like basic organ failure, you'll be able to keep people alive forever.
I mean, Sam and I were. What happened? Yeah. Sam and I were just talking about imagine having consciousness exist after this. I mean, that's when are you gonna ever get rest? You're gonna take a pill now to stay alive for what, 200 years?
Yeah, if consciousness, exactly, like where does the spiritual question emerge? Because there's all this reincarnation talk and all of this that is again part of the desire, like economy in a way. It's kind of just like, what do people want to hear? Like, they want to hear that like the promised land or that they have another chance, and like it's
very evangelical.
It's all propaganda.
Yeah, it's very evangelical. It's
Yeah.
like really evangelical.
But so I pulled the mic because I had the inflammation conversation with my very educated on bio. He's a professor of biology in CUNY. Like, what is inflammation? And he said that inflammation is essentially an overreaction. That like when you get an injury,
okay, medically, okay, yeah.
It's like he's a professor of biology. He's very much like he's been not indoctrinated, but like whatever, doctored, a PhD in the Western practice of medicine and biology.
Right.
And so he was explaining to me, Orlando Gill, shout out that man. That's my dad. It's so funny because I was deadass trying to cut him off, and he was like, "You're gonna miss a great conversation with me right now."
Yo, man.
And he made me die of laughter because you're mad funny for that.
I mean, look at COVID. Like,
Look at this. Okay, inflammation as a response to injury.
Yes.
Then it continuing as an overreaction to that injury.
That's right.
There's a spiritual. Isn't there like a spiritual like connotation to that in a way?
I mean, I suppose.
That's what I asked him.
I mean, like cancer. I mean, like Susan Sontag explained like cancer as a disease of excess, and tuberculosis as a disease of poverty. And but both deal with inflammation.
Yeah.
In tuberculosis case, your lungs become inflamed to a point where you produce too much mucus to even like maintain your bodily functions. Whereas cancerous cells, free radicals, spur inflammation. And ironically, inflammation, like, I mean, from skin cancers to almost any kind of cancer you could think of, it is almost all brought on by this this somatic thing that we call inflammation. That's why acupuncture, reflexology, massaging, and pretty much most of the wellness industry, weed itself, like weed, pretty much most of the wellness industry like exists in the way that it exists today, because we have come around to understanding what inflammation does to us. You look at like someone like and he's kind of controversial, I guess, but Dr. Sebi, right?
Why is he controversial? Because he's like a hack. They called him a hack.
Allegedly, yeah. Like he.
I mean, he's not accredited. He's not accredited doctor.
That's right.
But his food list. You want to talk Dr. Sebi? Careful, because I'll talk Dr. Sebi.
And I mean Sebi like.
Because I've been kind of on some Sebi shit for like almost 10 months now.
And I mean Sebi figured it out. Like, yo, if you can like just maintain keeping inflammation down, you can cure most diseases in your body, and if you have the right diet.
He uses the word mucus, but inflammation, mucus.
Yeah, like mucus, mucoskeletal issues, things of that nature.
And for anybody listening, past, present, or future, don't eat wheat or sugar. Like, if you want to just cut, like if you just want to, you don't want to do the Dr. Sebi thing. If you don't want to. If you don't want to do the whole Dr. Sebi thing, which I think you should try, but it's a very serious thing. Like, if you read some of his shit, he'll send you into a direction too far too quick. Like, you need to work with somebody who understands nutrition.
That's what happened to left eye.
You really, huh?
That's what happened to Lisa Left Eye.
She died?
I mean, she died from a car accident, but she was going to visit Dr. Sebi when she like died. But she was
weird.
Like, she got like radicalized by like.
Oh man, see,
thing.
I shouldn't talk about this to the public. Hell, I'm already too powerful. What? I'll talk to you guys about it off camera. No, I'm dead ass, because the Dr. Sebi shit is real. It's some real shit. Just don't eat sugar, wheat, or dairy, and that will be a quick shortcut to some of the benefits of the Dr. Sebi diet. He's too particular with his food groups. Like, you don't have to be too pressed on the fucking burrow banana versus the store supermarket banana. This kind of avocado versus that avocado. Like, chill. But it's, you know, certain foods you just really shouldn't eat. One of which is wheat, one of which is dairy, and one of which is processed sugar. Just don't eat those things.
Yeah.
On God,
All
don't.
that shit's gonna kill you.
Don't eat it.
But yeah. We have someone here.
It's time for the next show.
It is, huh? Yeah, we do gotta wait for Sam. So I guess we're just shooting the shit until actually I got some things to plug. I guess before
what
I
else
go.
did you want to say? Like, this has been your show, but you've hosted quite a conversation.
I coasted the conversation.
Is that what you
know?
do? You just like
that's what I do. I coast conversations.
I said host,
Oh,
not
I
coast. East Coast. But I'm just saying, like, this has been a great show, but this is what you do. This is your method. Like, what's the final word?
I told Sam that we would just like shoot the shit.
That's cool.
But my method always is just be in conversation with people. I like to talk to people. You know,
That's
I like
cool.
to like to have a free ranging conversation. You know, a lot of ins, a lot of outs, a lot of what have you, all that good stuff. You know, up is down and black is white, right? But no, but fucking
black and white change orientations regularly.
But I do have a couple plugs because I don't want to get cursed out on text. One, the Magic Show, which I'm a part of. Myself and 19 artists. We are closing on the 25th. It is a great show curated by Joji Xpizza, who is a longtime fixture in the downtown scene. He has run out of his space. He has run Magic Gallery for the last 10 years.
Magic Gallery?
Yeah.
What is that?
Magic Gallery is Joji Xpizza's art project of sorts that has existed as a curatorial space for him to kind of explore his fantasies, I would say. And the Magic Show, which is an ode of sorts to dystopian hellscapes, you know, the near or maybe post future. And you know, the collection of artists, which includes myself, Sean Powers, you know, Armando Nin,
SP the Ghost,
SP the
Saints
Ghost,
and Sinners,
Saints and Sinners,
Kick,
Hard
Flip,
Body,
Pete.
all that good stuff. But
I'm Hard Body.
you know, so Honest Collective, so on and so forth.
All right. It's a lot of stars.
Yo, a lot of name dropping. That's what I do, you know.
Come on, bro.
That's what I do.
Supreme.
Yeah, man, Mad Supreme.
Supreme team. The best, the world's famous, the best ever.
But
Fuck is you talking about, Brujas and this bitch? What are you talking about? All those guys are guys.
We also have Eva Nelson, who is a great artist.
We go.
have Stephanie Perez, great artist.
All
and
right,
stylist.
now we're talking. But
If I could go through the list.
Have you heard this fucking name? No, you heard this guy, that guy. Come on, who else? Stephanie Perez. Tell me about her work.
Stephanie Perez is a stylist who, if I'm not mistaken, she works with a recent OVO signee whose name escapes me. I don't know. I'm not the curator. I don't know all these things. I'm just the artist.
But the show. Okay, good. He's an
What do you want
artist.
from me?
Nothing. I'm just giving you a hard time. It's what I do. It's how I show love.
Well,
That's what I told Johnny earlier.
but fucking what was I gonna say? No, but the show is an ode to dystopian cityscapes, the feeling of living in the future, and I think the consortium of artists that Joji collected, in one way or another, they all speak to that. You know, you have people like my friend Camille Rosad, who makes sculptural pieces that are evocative of her. I don't know if that's the right word, but they are evocative of her southern Mediterranean upbringing and her ties to Puerto Rico. You know, these works, which they are created through sublimation, through sculpture, through all kinds of different processes. They have forms that, at least for me, speak to, you know, kind of like and I'm losing my words here. Excuse me.
It's
I'm
okay.
nervous.
It's okay. Come back. Come back. Come
you
back.
know,
Come back. Come back. She's good. She's good.
She's great.
She's a good artist. Good artist.
She is a great artist, but
That's good.
but also like in the context of the show, having her work exist near someone like Ron from Public Housing, who in my opinion is making work that speaks to the past, present, and future of like living in the hood, of of being in these impoverished like in decay spaces. I think that those things like juxtaposed with like my photographs or even like Joji's installation work, and the overall installation, the overall like scenography of the space, which is it consists of exposed wall, concrete, leather, even a scent created by Joya Studio. It really transports you and puts you in a space that I haven't really seen in an art show, like in my life.
Nice. Wait, so Magic Gallery.
Magic Gallery.
Cool.
And
Uncensored New York Fair this weekend.
That's right. Also, we will be closing this weekend on the 25th from 6:30 to 10, I believe. There will be a panel discussion with Ali Rosa Salas from Abrams Art Center. I believe myself, this artist Radomir, Melanie Luna, Eva Nelson, and a few others will be on the panel discussing the work.
How
further.
exciting.
Yep.
Sam? Who's the next guest?
We have Jordan here. Everyone say hello.
Thank you, Joey.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good.
Oh, yeah, actually, that's a good call.